back to Whitt Acres. Today I'm going to be trying to get all my squash and pumpkins in the ground. We're down here in the vegetable garden with Echo Pup. We're going to do some planting today. I got the weed whacker out because I did spray this mound with poison and get everything to die down. But now it's starting to come back and I want to lay some fabric down. And to get the fabric to lay nice and smooth against the hillside here, I'm going to need to weed whack all these weeds down so it's nice and smooth across the top. Well, the battery died just about immediately, so I put the battery on charge. I was going to get the still gas-powered weed whacker out, but it has a trimmer attachment on it, and the weed whacker attachment is a saw blade right now for some heavy brush, and I don't want to switch it out and then restring it. So while that's charging, we'll talk about what's ready to go into the ground today. Over here on the north side of the house, I have a bunch of plants hardening off. They'll get the morning sun, but none of the hot afternoon sun. I have a whole big tray of dwarf zinnias that need to be topped because they're getting pretty stretched out. And then I have a bunch of pumpkins. So I have these warty pumpkins. So they'll be the pumpkins with the big warts on them. I'm going to pull them all out here because we just had a rain and their trays are full of water. And then we have a blue doll pumpkin. I planted, I think, all of them in 6-packs. And some of them got doubled up. So I'll thin those once they go into the ground. The next one is a white pumpkin. So we got a blue one and a white one. This one's a flat white pumpkin. So this one will be flat and white, so you can actually stack these for decoration. I really wanted to get a few of those. I've actually been trying to grow these for a couple years now and get 3 of them that I can stack in series, but still waiting on that to happen. This one is the mini harvest, so that'll get a lot of the small pumpkins on it, and I'll probably be putting those throughout the property as well in different spots. So these ones might not go on the squash mound, maybe 1 or 2 of them, but the other ones might go in some other areas on the property. In the next tray we have some watermelons and gourds popping up. I believe this one in the corner is a Congo watermelon, one of the big large sweet watermelons. Then we have a caveman club gourd, which is going to be a curved neck gourd that's going to have some texture on it. That one's going to go to the pergola. So these gourds, actually, I don't think I have any pumpkins in this tray. None of them look like squash. That one doesn't have a tag. Oh, this one's a jelly melon, so that one probably can go on the squash mound, but it might go up to the pergola. And then we have some more gourds, which is a bushel gourd. So the bushel gourds will go to the squash mound because they're too heavy to put on the pergola. If I try putting them on the pergola, they're going to snap the lattice and probably snap their stem whenever they get full of size and just fall right off. Then I have a penguin gourd, which will go to the pergola as well, and some more watermelons. So all the watermelons are going to be going on the squash mound with the pumpkins and the winter squash. This last tray is mostly field pumpkins, if I remember correctly. We have field pumpkins and some wax melon and some Crespo squash. Those are from Baker Creek's Rare Seeds. So those ones will be going on the squash mound as well, mainly for decoration. I also have blue Hubbard squash in this one as well, and some, what's that? I have more Dill's Atlantic Giant as well. So as I said, we're going to be planting the pumpkins, the watermelons, and the bushel gourd out on the squash mound. Small pumpkins, the mini harvest, I might just plug those into the landscape in different spots, probably up by the pergola. And then the rest of the gourds will be going onto the pergola. But we are focused on the pumpkins and squash today. So I'm going to get a tray filled up with everything that I'm going to be planting out there and leaving everything else behind. We're going to load it up on my wagon and take it down to the garden. So here's the landscaping fabric that I'm going to be using for the squash mound. It's 6 by 100 feet, so I should be able to cover the whole entire squash mound with this, the whole top of it. and then it's not going to fray because it is a different material. It's a non-woven, so it won't have the big plastic frays that get caught up in everything and then make me all mad. So we're going to use this, take us down to the garden. We got everything down here. It's just time to see if the battery's charged up so we can make some progress. Up pop. Ooh, got some calla lilies popping up in here. Got a few dotted through the garden here and it seems to be popping up. Uh-oh. Got one on the outside. I planted a portulaca right on top of a lily. I think they'll be just fine. So while I'm waiting on the battery to charge, I've been messing with the pond. We had some rain lately and we've been able to get the pond filled up to about this point. I have water coming into my beach and I just pumped all this out, and I'm still wondering why I'm getting more water in here. I don't see anything coming in from the liner side, so it must be just groundwater. But I keep getting more and more water in my beach area, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that. But we have water in the pond now. I got the sides up high enough, I think, but that's why I'm filling it up right now to see if whenever I get it up to water level, if I have to adjust any of the liner on the edges. So that's why none of the edges here are finished. And we still have a lot of big stones and stuff to be setting. But since we had the rain coming, I wanted to get the whole main basin rocked out so we could get some water in there and see what happens. So since I used a lot of rubber sheets to do this pond, I didn't use just one whole liner, because you can see it starts up here, runs all the way until the waterfall jumps in, and then it has a stream going down to the stairway going in, and then the main swimming area of the pond is over here. So I wasn't able to make a full liner here. The main basin up to about this point here is a liner seam. So all this water is working its way through that liner seam and going into the French drain all the way down to my sump pit down here at the end. And you can see it coming out of that hose right there. And then it all gets pumped right back into the pond. So I should have seamed together all the liners to make it all one big liner so I didn't have any leaks. But at the time I was putting it in, I didn't have any of that material, no seam tape or glue, and I wasn't really thinking of the roofing glue or Gorilla Glue that I used to seam the liner from the main basin to the intake bay. I did seam that liner the best I could, but the rest of these liner seams don't have any glue or adhesion on them, so the water does work its way through. But that was expected, so hopefully it is within range of what I was expecting, so I don't have any extra problems. But as of now, I'm not losing any water. It does empty and get pumped back in, but I'm keeping a relatively stable water level doing that. So we'll see as the water gets higher in here if my system works with the French drain underneath. But I have been trying to figure out this waterfall. So I did tear the face off of the waterfall. I had some bigger stones that were right in about here, and I took all those out so I could stack up some more stones in the way that I wanted. I didn't like the look of the big stones. They just seemed to be kind of placed up there, boxing it all off. In nature, you always have different sizes of stones, so I wanted to get some more in there like that. Plus I needed to shape it a certain way so I can get the water to flow the way I want it to go. And the other stones that I had weren't going to be able to be easily shaped. I would have had to use a lot of bib liner and try and get it to water to flow over large gaps. So with this, I'm going to have everything a lot tighter, and hopefully the water is going to go the way I want it to. I did end up getting my AquaSurge 5000 pump to run this pond. I'll be running that on the filter, the wetland filter, and then I'll probably get a bigger one to run the waterfall. But I'll be able to use that pump to test my waterfall now until I get the bigger pump. the whole squash mound is now knocked down, ready for the fabric to go across. How beautiful is that looking right now? Got it running all the way down the mound. I kind of stopped at the sunflowers because I'm gonna have to cut it around the sunflowers that are volunteered down there just to make it work, but I'll make it work down there. I don't want to get rid of them. Now I want to grab some landscape staples to get it all secured down before the wind comes and blows it up. I have some rocks on there now to hold it in place until I get those. But I think they're up in the barn, so I'm gonna have to head up there, check on the chickens and the pigs. But before I do that, I have this whole bed of greens, lettuce, chard, kale, radishes. So I'm gonna pick some of this, just get a handful, take it up to the animals to eat. Hey chickens, we got a couple chickens out here in the day pen. What are you girls doing? I think that's a boy. But we got the egg chickens out here. We got the meat chickens. The meat chickens are all white ones. They're pretty lazy though, so we'll see what they like. You girls want something to eat? Yeah, that's what I thought. I figured you'd all run away when I threw it in there. Puppy, quit your whining. Check out this rose. Got this climbing rose up by the barn. Doing great. Hey chickens. How you guys doing? What are you guys doing, chickens? Got all the chickens. They just have access to the outside, but a lot of them just stay in here. I do have them a little bit of food. But you can see these white chickens are getting big. I'm going to do a weighing video here on the Homestead channel real soon of these Cornish crosses, because look at them. They are getting massive. These pigs, you're making a lot of noise. What are you guys doing? Hey pigs. Hey pigs. We got Zeus, the big pig. We got Little Pig with 2 G's, and then we got Happy Pig and Shy Pig. Looks like I have my fencing staples up here, but I don't have my landscaping staples, so they might be in the shed. What are y'all saying? You are noisy. Puppy, don't chase the white ones, they're not fast. Well, at least the chickens got a snack from the garden. Now I'm gonna go look for those landscaping staples. But I can see from here, that fabric's looking good. Just looking at it from a distance, it makes it look way better than all those weeds down there. So I thought the staples were at the barn because I used them last up there to secure the enclosure fence down to the ground so nothing can push up underneath it if the dogs walk in there. So we're gonna see if the ducks have them in the shed. Hey ducks, do you have my staples? What are you doing, Mumbles? What are you yelling about, Mumbles? You can see the ducks have been moved up here to the shed brooder to get a little bit more space because they are getting bigger. We even have one Pekin duck that's starting to do a little quacking sound. We got Mumbles here. What are you saying, Mumbles? Where are my staples, buddy? Alright, you tell them. You tell them, bud. Just put this 2-gallon water in there and they empty the whole water in a matter of an hour. Didn't you, Mumbles? You just don't stop talking, buddy. Huh. So I used my brother's gator while I was doing that. So hey, there's the staples and the mallet. My brother let me borrow his gator for the week so I could get the yard rolled. We've been using the backhoe a lot and it's been leaving ruts all through the yard and it's been horrible trying to mow over those ruts. It's like mowing over rumbling strips or rumble strips, whatever. But anyway, I got my staples, got my mallet. I'm gonna secure this down so we can get planting here soon. And there it is, the end of the 100-foot roll. Just finished it off, got both pieces of cardboard out of it. This is my willow hybrid that I plugged in here. I'm trying to get it to grow back because it died all the way down to the ground. You can see it's coming back pretty nicely, so I wrapped the fabric right around it so I can get this thing to grow, and then I'll propagate it into multiple willow trees later on. But I'm going to let it grow this year, get as big as it can. But you can see I got the fabric wrapped around there all the way to the end of the row, pretty much. I had to notch it out around for that sunflower, and I stapled it all the way down about 6 feet apart each side, all the way down. I'm leaving the rocks on there because I think that'll help with the wind. And now I just have to go through, mark out all my holes, cut a little X, and shove a pumpkin in it. So I have this mushroom compost that I'm going to be using to amend my soil as I plant in it. So I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so we're going to put one right here where Echo Pup is standing. Huh, buddy? You always mark the spot. Back up. Don't. Oh, I got to cut. I got to use a knife, Pup. No, I can't pet you. Can't pet you right now, buddy. I got to use it. Puppy. Just hold on, bud. Alright, so we're just going to make a X. Sort of. You don't need to make the whole X. You can just make a little triangle like this. You can see that is not the best planting medium right there. So what I'm going to do, I don't have my hori on me right now, but I will. So I'm just going to fluff up the soil right inside the X there. Get any stones out. Then I'll take the mushroom compost that I have and make a nice pow in here. Mixing it in and getting it underneath the fabric as best I can. Just like that. And now I have an amended hole that's going to hold a lot more moisture and be a lot more accommodating to my watermelon plant. I'm going to plant these all sweet watermelons right in here. That cell's kind of dry. I'm going to plant a wetter cell, and then I can water that one a little bit later and get it in. But for now, I'm going to get this one into the ground here. So just pop it out. I have 3 in there because I like to sow in multiples so I don't actually waste any time getting no seeds to germinate. All the seeds germinate. I'm going to get this planted out. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button.
Cut them
if
now,
you want to see how this turns out whenever.
Wait a week.
All right, that's going to be all.
Plant this into the ground.
All right, I'm going to work on planting this out with all my pumpkins and squash. If you want to. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these planted out. If you like the video,
I'm going to leave these 3 go. You can come back and water these, settle in the soil. That's all I'm going to have to do, and they should be pretty good. So they don't look the strongest right now, but that's just because they're going in right now. You can see how stretched they were coming out of the greenhouse. But they're going to do a lot better in the ground here, and with this fabric, they won't have to compete with any of the weeds, especially to get started. So I think it's going to work out a lot better this year. I'm going to work my way down the whole mound here, get some compost to cut some holes and plug in some plants.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell.
Alright, so we are finished with the squash mound planting. It looks good and it looks long. I finished up with 2 Crespo squash, and I actually have 2 little ones still in here, and I pulled one out of the side of that one and plugged it back in here so it could keep growing. I didn't want to just rip it out and call it, so I figured I'd throw it back in there. I might be able to find a spot for it. I do have some warty pumpkins left over, but I want to get some of these into the landscape before I figure out how many extra I have to put into this mound out here. You can tell the lilies are budding up, and it is almost lily season here on the property. A bunch of different types of lilies coming into bloom here real soon. Here at the beginning of the squash mound, we'll start off with the all sweet watermelons. There are 4 of them, and they're multi-sown, so in about a week, once they establish a little bit, I'll come back, see which one looks to be the strongest, and cut out the other ones. After that, we have the bushel gourd, which these ones are looking pretty strong. So it's nice to have, I think, 5 of these bushel gourds. I'm going to try and get some bigger ones because they're a hard shell gourd, and I'll be able to do some crafts with these ones. After that, I put in a flat white pumpkin. Some of them are multi-sown, so I'll leave those go just like the watermelon and call out or cut out the weakest one in about a week. After that, I think I just put in a white pumpkin. I didn't even actually label these. I think we put in the white pumpkin next, and then I put in blue Hubbard squash. You can see how similar all these look. You really just can't tell the difference between them by the leaves. So we have some blue Hubbard squash in here. After the Hubbard squash, I put in a blue doll pumpkin. And then I wanted to get the larger pumpkins in here where they had the open grass out here to sprawl out and get long. So this is where I started the Connecticut giant field pumpkins. We have a few of those in here. On the back side of those, I put in some of the extra big moon pumpkins that I had. And then I started my backup Dill's Atlantic Giants. I gave these ones a little bit more space. They have a good 3 feet in between the plantings here, and I think that's going to help them out a lot. If they do grow, they're going to grow really big, so I want to give them as much space as I can. Plus I had all this extra space on the mound since I planted all these pumpkins really close together. Hey pup. And after that, I finished off with another row of the Connecticut giant field pumpkins with 4 more of those, and they're looking pretty long already. And I had the Crespo squash, so I put in 2 of the Crespo squash out here just for some decorations, and I have space for them. And you can see I still have about 15 feet of space on the squash mound. So since I have extra space on the squash mound, after I put the pumpkins and the squash and whatnot into the landscape, because I like to intermix my flowers and my vegetables, so I'll be putting some of those to sprawl through the garden beds. And if I have any extra that I can't put into the flower beds, then I'll finish them off on the squash mound here. All that's left to do is grab my 300 feet of hose and stretch it all down here, turn the water on, and water in everything on the mound that I just got planted. This is the worst part about gardening, stretching out hundreds of feet of hose, only to find out it's a bird's nest. How does this happen? Like, it's worse than headphones in your pocket or Christmas lights. Like, I couldn't make this design if I tried. All right, we're in business now. Now I can water everything. Thanks for coming along today, taking the time to plant some pumpkins with me and Echo Pup. If you want to see any more planting videos or how the garden progresses here on Whitt Acres, then go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit that like button before you leave, and you can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching.